Welcome to Session 2 of Module 3, in which we will focus on post-moderation. In Session 2, the following topics will be dealt with: the recording of marks, the post-assessment moderation checklist, the completion of a composite pre- and post-moderation report, the role of the Department of Higher Education and Training. Firstly, we ask ourselves, what is the purpose of post-assessment moderation? It is about correct use of the assessment tool and fairness. Post-assessment moderation ensures that the assessment tool was applied correctly and that students have been treated fairly. Please familiarize yourself with the post-assessment moderation process. You can refer to Report 191 ICAS Templates Annexure G3 and NCV ICAS Templates Annexure I. This table summarizes the timeline for the post-assessment moderation process. We are not going to discuss this in detail, but I will highlight a few important aspects so that it is clear what is expected of you. Firstly, be aware of the important role that you as a moderator play to ensure fairness to all candidates. 10% or a minimum of 5 written assessments should be moderated. Remarking is the responsibility of the marker, but then 10% of the entire batch must be moderated again. Timeline for ICAS moderation and monitoring. Moderate 10% or a minimum of 5 written assessments. Be familiar with the assessment. The marked scripts for moderation should reflect best, medium, and poor performance. Moderators should use a green pen only. Moderators should remark the entire script and also show all ticks as indicated on the assessment tool. Give feedback to the marker. Keep all evidence of the moderation process, for example, 55% or 66%. Remarking is strongly advised if the variance between the markers and moderators' marks is greater than 5% for more than half of the moderated scripts. Note, a remark of the entire batch is advised if the variance is applicable to more than half of the sample moderated. The variance between the markers and moderators' marks is the result of incorrect marking. Note, sections or specific questions indicated by the moderator of the entire batch must be remarked. Examples of incorrect marking: awarding marks for incorrect answers, not awarding marks for correct answers, not marking alternative correct answers, incorrect allocation of marks, inconsistent mark allocation for similar answers. If remarking was advised, 10% of the entire batch should be moderated again on completion of remarking. Errors in the adding of marks made by the marker. Add and check totals of all scripts again. Note, if, for example, an adding error was made by the marker, the student must be given the correct moderated mark. The moderator should determine whether the error was restricted to the one script only. The moderator should moderate 1 or 2 additional scripts. Hand assessments back to the students. The converted mark must be indicated on the marked task. For example, 60 out of 100 is 60%, which is 15 out of 25. Capturing of marks on IT system. After the moderation is completed, the lecturer's red pen marks must be captured on the IT system. Note, all students must benefit from the moderation and not only the sample of scripts moderated. The aim of moderation is to ensure consistency in the marking process. Corrections should be done. Note, as part of remedial work, the lecturer should go through the task with the students. This process is extremely important, so I will highlight a few aspects that you need to remember. Firstly, familiarize yourself with the assessment before starting the moderation process. As a subject expert, you should know the answers without looking at the memorandum. Secondly, avoid shadow marking. Don't just tick where the examiner ticked. You should also avoid ticking on top of the ticks of the examiner. It may create the impression of shadow marking. Realize the important role that you as a moderator play to ensure fairness to all candidates. What do you think would be the credibility of a moderated assessment if a candidate still picks up calculation errors? When giving feedback to the marker, also address aspects such as the neatness of marking, the correctness of ticks, for example, where a fact counts 2 marks each, 2 ticks should be made. Consistency with regard to where subtotals and totals are written. It is also important to make sure that conversion of marks is correct. For example, where a mark obtained out of 100 must be converted to a weighted value of 25. Ensure that marks are recorded correctly on the mark sheet as well as in the candidate's portfolio of evidence. Remember that all students should benefit from the moderation, and not only the sample of scripts moderated. The aim of moderation is to ensure consistency in the marking process. This brings us to the moderation of the recorded marks. The moderator must make sure that marks have been correctly converted and recorded. Always check marks. For example, 20 out of 50 equals 40%. If the weighted value of this component is 30, then it will be 12 out of 30. Marks need to be verified by lecturers. We will pay more attention to this in Module 4. Please ensure that the marks achieved in each task are converted to reflect the weighting for the subject and that marks are rounded off. There should be no decimals. The converted mark should be indicated on the marked test, assignment, or examination answer sheet as well as on the record sheet. Please make sure that there is no blank space next to a candidate's name. Where a candidate did not do an assessment at all or obtained no marks, a 0 must be recorded on the record sheet. Please take note that there are prescribed templates in the ICAS document that must be used for the recording of marks. The table shown here summarizes where these documents can be found for different subjects. Look, for example, at Annexure T4 for Report 191 Engineering Trimester Programs, or Annexure J2 for NCV Life Orientation, or Annexure J4 for NCV Vocational Programs. Do remember that record sheets constitute official assessment records that must be kept by the college for monitoring, moderation, and verification purposes. They are legal evidence should a legal dispute be declared by a student or parent guardian. For that reason, the original handwritten mark sheets are critical in the verification of marks corrected during correction with students before capturing onto the electronic mark sheets. The record sheets should be used to compile the final ICAS mark. That will in turn be transferred to the official ICAS mark sheet provided by the Department of Higher Education and Training for the submission of ICAS marks for result purposes. One last remark, though very important. Marks for any additional assessment tasks may not be used for the calculation of the final ICAS mark. The Post-Assessment Moderation Checklist. There are a number of templates to be completed again. The next 2 templates need to be completed to ensure compliance with both the pre- and post-assessment moderation processes. Both these checklists should be completed and signed by the moderator. The first checklist is one containing information of every student whose assessment is being moderated. The second checklist contains an overall evaluation of the assessment and the assessment process and the marking process. Notice the types of items in the checklist. There might also be some recommended areas for improvement, and the moderator may also provide general comments. The pre- and post-moderation report forms an integral part of the moderation process. It must, however, be completed by the HOD or academic head and not by the moderator. It is, however, included in this module for clarity's sake to enable you to see the whole picture. You can refer to Report 191 ICAS Templates Annexure G5 and NCV ICAS Templates Annexure K2. The document speaks for itself. It covers the subject, level, campus, program manager, total of students, both enrolled and assessed, the dropout rate, the number of students who passed, the throughput rate, and the pass rate, as well as the total number of assessments conducted and moderated, as a number and as a percentage. In this completed template, look at examples of suitable comments and actions per criterion. For criterion 1, the comment is, for every subject and for every task, there is an examiner and a moderator. They know who they are and what is expected of them. Criterion 2, there is a common plan for TOL3, which is followed by campus X and Y, i.e. students on the two campuses write the same tests on the same day. Criterion 3, at least 5 working days before tasks are given to students, tasks are print-ready and signed off. Criterion 4, for the whole college for the whole year, all assessment tasks are conducted according to the scheduled dates, as set in Jan of the academic year. Criterion 5, evidence of 10% moderated scripts are available from Miss English in room T35 on campus X and from Mr. Maths Lit in room S2 on campus Y. The role of the Department of Higher Education and Training. Lastly, what is the task of the Department of Higher Education and Training to ensure compliance with the moderation process? The DHET will undertake moderation of both the ICAS tasks, including PATs only applicable to NCV vocational subjects, administered and the marked student evidence during nationally convened moderation sessions. The DHET moderation process will focus on the quality of both the ICAS tasks administered and the quality of the marking process. Moderation ensures that, amongst other things, the relevant content as prescribed in the syllabus or guidelines is covered. The assessment is representative of all the relevant conceptual domains. All cognitive levels are challenged. The assessment is of an appropriate standard. The assessment and tool are fair, valid, reliable, and credible. This brings us to the end of Module 3, Session 2. Remember that in this session we covered the following: the recording of marks, the post-assessment moderation checklist, the completion of a composite pre- and post-moderation report, the role of the DHET.